Hello everyone! This week I want to show you a little park on the East River in Astoria, Queens. It's called Socrates Sculpture Park. It's a nice little park which to a large degree serves as an outdoor museum. It's a place where artists can exhibit their sculptures and art, and you will especially find local artists displaying their work here. For instance, now, in May 2025, you have pieces displayed by the artist John Ahern. Rollerblades, a boombox, and a basketball? Now this is certainly the representation of the street life in like the 1980s and early 1990s. Even in the front, before you enter the park, there is a giant billboard welcoming you, constantly being changed to really set the tone for the art displayed on the inside. By the main entrance, there is a pretty cool house made out of shipping containers. This is where I believe the administrative offices are, but I have to admit, it looks pretty cool. In fact, I really like these window designs. I can definitely see something like this for my own home. It's kind of different, quirky, and fun. I do not know the history of this place before the 1980s really. However, I read somewhere that it used to be a marine terminal, so a place where ships would load and unload. However, by the 1980s, this place became a dumping ground, a sort of like a unofficial landfill. But an artist named Mark Di Suvero, along with other artists, saw a potential here and they leased the land from the city of New York, and with the help of the local community, transformed it into a place for artists creating and displaying their work. For a few years, the fate of this place was uncertain as there were proposals to build apartment buildings here. However, by the late 1990s, this was recognized as a park by the city and still serves that purpose till this day. Ooh, a free store! I always check out what kind of books are available. Sometimes you come across really rare finds. And then you see more shipping containers, which is interesting. I really like this blend of industrial, man-made objects into the natural landscape. I think it's done pretty well here. As you walk to the end of the park, you can sit on a bench and have a great view of Roosevelt Island and Manhattan right behind it. But also you see the remains of the past when the ships still arrived here. In fact, this is not the only place. When you stand here, for instance, in this spot, which is like a stage, when you look to the left, there is still a small piece of what looks like rails, which were probably used for loading and unloading goods. Hence, there are still some visible signs of the past life of this park. But it is nice that in the recent years, when you look at the architecture, there is more focus on creating parks and places for the people instead of just concrete and cement everywhere. Even when you look on the new construction buildings, like right there in the distance, you can see many times rooftops have small trees, plants, and it's just a place for the tenants to go and relax. But I think that overall it gives more life and color to the city. In fact, the whole area is changing, like many other places in New York City as well. Old warehouses and factories are being converted to luxury apartment buildings. But this building here in particular is interesting. As you see, it was built in 1886 and has this really nice tower design with a clock. It used to be a piano factory at one point. In fact, this neighborhood, Astoria, is home to one more famous piano company, the Steinway & Sons. But one other thing that I always like to notice on these older structures is small little details. Like for instance, you can see that we are standing on the corner of Vernon Boulevard and 31st Avenue. However, if you look at the building from 1886, it has the engraving of Jamaica Boulevard. And so I absolutely have no time for this, but I just had to check up on this. And yep, what is today 31st Avenue used to be Jamaica Boulevard at one point. And I know this could be boring to many people, however, sometimes you come across these fun little details, like even here, for instance, in a different part of Queens. We have 65th Place. However, if you look on this brick column, you will see that it used to be called Hyde Avenue. Now, is this something important to most people? No. But is it fun to notice? Absolutely. Just as much as noticing someone put this face on a cut branch of a tree. But anyway, right next to the park, there's also like a small beach area which is accessible. And other than one person trying to teach her dog some tricks, the seagulls, geese, and swans have totally took full advantage of this piece of real estate. And if you continue walking up, I would say maybe 15 more minutes walking, you will come across Astoria Park, which I also did a video on, one of the earlier videos on this channel, in case anyone is interested. So on one side we have the beach, but on the other side of the park, there is Costco. But as you enter through the gates, you can see that you can walk in, as technically it's a public waterfront. And you can continue on your nice walk along the East River. But of course, first you have to go past some obstacles like parked cars and shopping carts. But it's probably been, oh gosh, maybe 15 years since I was standing here on this parking lot last time. When I was younger, I always came here with my parents. I am not, nor was I ever, a store person. In fact, I am one of those people that runs into the store, uses no basket, but tries to juggle 15 items and then runs out 10 minutes later. That's typical shopping trip for me. But I always was excited to come here because, well, starting when I was 18, I had the permission to drive my dad's car. And that is all that mattered to me. And as you see, when I was there, it began to rain, which was a little bit strange because when I was leaving my house, it was perfectly fine. The sun was shining. And then later on, when I came back, about 2 hours later, the sun came out again. So I just really got unlucky with the weather for that day. But nevertheless, I hope that you enjoyed this short video. And well, it was a short video simply because it's the end of the semester for me. So I didn't have the time to do anything else. As any professor or teacher will tell you, the end of the semester sometimes gets very chaotic. This is the moment that you feel the most burnout. You're tired the most, simply because the lack of sleep and the stress of the last few months has finally caught up with you. That, along with finishing up different projects, committee work, writing up the final exams for the next few days, while at the same time still teaching and grading, it all takes its toll. Not to mention, this is also the moment of the semester that we get, I should say, creative emails from students. For instance, someone who has not done anything for the last 2 months all of a sudden realizes, maybe I should do something in order to pass this course. No, really? And here I thought that this mystery will never get solved. So, like I mentioned already on this channel, I believe, this summer, so just give me a few more days. Once I have a little bit more time, I will get all of my thoughts kind of organized in my head. And I will try to make these occasional videos about education and college, because simply at the end of the day, I really truly believe that college education is still tremendously valuable if you do it properly. But that does not mean that colleges don't have problems and issues, because they absolutely do, and it's very widespread. I believe it starts in the classroom, how sometimes we teach, to the administration, and to the students themselves and how they view education. I am honestly convinced that some students see professors as sort of customer service representatives, that for good evaluations and a good word, that we will simply do stuff and treat them in a special way. No, that's not how it works. So there are certainly a lot of issues in education, and I'll try to give a little bit of my own view and take on all of these in separate videos in the next few months coming up, just to sort of add a little bit different content to the channel. But this whole time, I will still be cruising around looking for amazing and cool places to show you on this channel as well. So, till next week, take care everyone. Bye.